Thank you for the good introduction and welcome to Helping Seniors Radio. Here we enjoy lunchtime together every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. right here on 90.3 FM WEJF. And if you're listening online at wejf.net, thank you for tuning in. And also, if you're catching this as a podcast later, as we know many people do, because it's available wherever fine podcasts are found, every place from Apple iTunes to Spotify, you name it, it's there. So I wanted to open up, John Harper, by first saying thank you. I walk in and I get all these compliments about the tie I'm wearing today. And I don't know if you know, this tie looks a little bit familiar because you walked in back in July and you said, Christmas in July.
Right.
And, you know, for folks, if you don't know John Harper, John has been involved in the Helping Seniors organization literally since before the day Joe Steckler, our founder and chairman emeritus, got the organization rolling. That was all the way back in 2011 when we officially became a 501c3. But you were helping Joe even before that in Brevard Alzheimer's. So in case you don't know, as we went along, John was always vice president, but when Joe retired from let's call it active duty as the president, he's still on the board. He's chairman emeritus, but he said it ended up, we worked it all out. So John now steps up as president of the organization. But John, the point about the tie was you always come in with the most marvelous ties. I realize you're always like dressed to the nines, and everybody's always commenting about your ties.
Not
and
today.
So,
today.
Well, no, I get it's casual Wednesday, but most of the time, and everybody's like, wow, that's the best tie. So every so often, John will come in and go, here's a tie for you, Kerry. So thank you, John.
You're welcome.
And
you wear it well. Looks good.
Well, thank you. Well, it's the holiday. It's a holiday tie. Just so I wish this was like TV so you could see it. But the point is, it's the holiday season, and many people say it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Sounds like an Andy Williams song.
It is, and there's people who go through a lot of the holidays too. So it can be a very difficult time of the year too. And I don't want to make fun of anybody that's struggling at this time of year, because, you know, when Joe put Helping Seniors together all those years ago, it came after all the experience that both you, John, and Joe, and many other people, Dr. Lee Sheldon, who's on the board, noted area periodontist, you guys were all helping Nancy Deerdorf, who is actually in our team, and she is our director of development. All you guys were helping Joe in Brevard Alzheimer's days. But then when he got to Helping Seniors, he said, Kerry, we've got to have a way to help seniors and their families find help in all the things, because he said in Brevard Alzheimer's, we learned that many families are faced with challenges about cognition, but every family at some point runs into aging. And so we have to talk about those things that help us make an aging plan. And so Joe has always been on the wall about that. And here we are 14, 15 years later, we're still on the wall, keeping what Joe had in mind to get information in the hands. I just saw a report, by the way, John, from Karen Werland. We're up over 4,000 calls again this year on the Helping Seniors helpline. And that's just an indication of how many people are looking for help, especially this time of year in so many areas. Sometimes it's housing, it's legal, it's medical, it's financial, it's transportation. And, you know, like Nancy likes to say, you don't know what you don't know. And one of the things that we've learned along the way, and I remember this in COVID, and this is going to drive us a little bit into what we're going to talk about today. You know, we were all told for our own safety and the safety of those around us, we should stay home and try to, give us 30 days to stop the spread. And in fact, it ended up becoming weeks, then months, and it was a long time before we got back to kind of like somewhat life as normal. But during that time, I remember the call volume on the Helping Seniors helpline really picked up. And one of the things that surprised me, because it really wasn't, I didn't think about it, and I guess I should have, but one of the number one calls that we got out of COVID time, especially when it was first lockdown, was seniors calling us. And I was thinking, well, we're going to get calls. How do they get to the grocery store to get food? They can't drive. How does all this work in that kind of an environment? And yet one of the very top calls we got was, I'm concerned I can't feed my pet. And that was really surprising. And we started to do a lot of research in those days, and we learned about a couple of resources that, just like there's food banks for people, there are a couple of resources that are available for pets. And that started me thinking about, because if you have a pet in your house, you kind of understand, particularly if you're an empty nester or maybe you never had kids and you have that pet at home, that's your family. And so that's what we're actually going to talk a little bit about today. I'm so excited to have in the studio with us I guess I would say you're the president and founder of Companion Animal Care of Brevard, Christine Evans. Hey, Christine.
How are you? Thank you so much for inviting us in today.
And you brought in one of your colleagues who is not only a colleague, but your sister, Gretchen Polny. How are you today, Gretchen?
I'm great. Thank you for having us.
And I really enjoyed when we were talking. We were joking around a little bit before the show, and I said, how did this get started? And I was fascinated to hear that you guys both grew up in a military family, but at a certain point in time, you did what all good kids do. I like to think of it, we did it in reverse. We had already had a home down here in Florida, and we ended up bringing our moms down here for the same reason, that we wanted to be able to help them and just have a good, strong family support system for everything going on with that. You guys kind of did it in reverse. You said your folks were down here, and then one by one, you kind of made your way to Florida. Am I saying that about right?
Exactly. Yes, that's it. Being a military family and moving around so much, we didn't really always have a base home. So home was really wherever our parents lived.
Right.
And so, we've always had a wonderful relationship. Well, we did with them. And this is just where we wanted to be, close to them. And of course, my sister and I close to each other.
No, it's really the best thing, because so often we get the calls on the Senior Information Helpline, and it can often be a little bit, it really will pull at your heartstrings, because, there are so many people, particularly this season. We did a big project here in the Helping Seniors organization. Big kudos to Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors, because she was really the mastermind who pulled this off. She had years of experience doing this with Brevard Triad, but it's a program called Senior Santa. And what they do is, because we often don't think of it, we usually have family or friends that we can spend the holidays with, but imagine being like in a skilled nursing facility and you're on your own, maybe you're very old, you don't have even people that you can call around Christmas, so your family is like whoever's around you. And so therefore, they might be friendly to you, but they're not necessarily going to get you Christmas gifts. And that's what the Senior Santa program actually did. It provided, I think they had so many volunteers pulling together gifts. And what they would do is they would have the seniors write down what they want, what they would want. And it would be the most, you or I might be the most mundane thing. I just need a pair of pajamas. I just need some toiletries. I just need a blanket to stay warm. And that is what the Senior Santa program accomplished. So it's looking after those seniors who might otherwise never get any kind of a gift, and they spend the time to wrap it up. And so it's a very nice presentation. And I'm so proud of Jennifer and the entire team of volunteers who made that possible, because that's just a gift, into the community. But there's so many people who spend so much time alone at the holidays. And so coming back to what we were talking about is, for seniors, that pet in their life is oftentimes their family. And so I was so surprised. Like I said, we get into COVID and everybody is concerned about, how do I feed Fido? But talk a little bit about companion animal care, because this takes that to a whole nother level when somebody has to go into a hospital for an operation or something like that. Who looks after the pets? And this is kind of where your heart is at. Talk about what you guys do with companion animal care.
Well, we do several things, but our core mission is to care for the pets of senior citizens that have to go into the hospital, rehab, surgery, any type of a medical situation where they can't care for their pet, whether it's on a long-term, short-term fostering basis. And then, pardon me, Kerry, we also do a lot of rehoming.
Yeah.
It can be, like you said, a very, very sad situation. We try and focus on the seniors that have no family members around, and they absolutely have no one, because you probably know very well that a lot of seniors will not seek or go through medical treatment because they have no one to care for their pet.
Oh yeah.
And that's just heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
This calling was a gift from above, and I've always loved pets and have a very, very soft spot for our senior community. And I credit my parents with that a lot.
Yeah.
And so putting these two together was just something I had to do. I had to start it as soon as possible. I returned to Melbourne after about 8 years, and we've just been going ever since. And the response has been phenomenal, not just from the seniors, but the gratitude from them is just overwhelming and heartwarming, and the same from the community. Everyone's just really a great supporter.
Yeah, this is one of the things I think is so important, because Nancy Deerdorf has this saying that she often says in the Helping Seniors organization. She says, how can you know what you don't know? And I had no idea that there was a nonprofit in our area that was committed to this, except for the good news that you were able to show up at one of our Brevard Commission on Aging meetings and shared the story. And I thought it was fascinating, because I kept thinking back to that experience in COVID. That was something that I maybe should have understood we were going to get calls about, and I probably even understand it better now. All of our kids are off and married, and so we have a dog at home, and that's becomes the little spoiled child in the house, as you know.
Yep.
And so I can only imagine for seniors that if the doctor says, hey, listen, we need you to be in the hospital because we're going to do this, and this is very important for your health, and then you're going to be really challenged, but if I'm going to be out of commission for not only the 3 days I need to be in the hospital, but maybe they want me to go to rehab after. This is putting stress on top of stress, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of our driving missions, is to relieve that stress and anxiety that they're, number one, going through because they are facing medical difficulties, some on very extreme level, and then the other anxiety of who's going to care for their pet, their beloved family member. So it's dual. So our goal is just to reassure them that any foster home, I have a tendency to keep several myself, but just reassure them that, focus on yourself, focus on your health, give this to us, and don't carry that burden forward while you need to care for yourself.
It's such an interesting point, because we were sort of joking about this also before the radio show too, where we were saying, when you get on the airplane and they give you the little safety briefing, they always say, well, if it's oxygen is needed, you're going to see the little mask drop down. And they always tell you got to put this on you first, because if you're going to care for the person, the child in the seat next to you, whoever it is, you better be able to breathe clearly and all that. And I think that's a very good point for the seniors. If the doctor's saying, this is what's going to be best for you, and that is correct, then you can't put that off because you're concerned about how do I take care of, my family pet. And so this is really like a life bridge for so many. But you made this a family affair, because I was asking Gretchen, who is your sister but also helps with this. I said, how did you get involved in this? I got to help keep all this organized. say something about this.
Well, I think what my goal with her is to just, there's such a high demand.
Yes.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And she has taken on such a huge role really in the community, because and she goes nonstop.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop. And it's not just those who are looking for a respite for surgeries. We have such a large population of elderly, but we don't call them elderly. Now we call them legends.
Love it. I love it.
So we have a large population of legends in this area that, they do go into assisted living as well. And those who have no one to care for them, we need to rehome them. And those, unfortunately, who do pass away, we need to rehome them as well. And there's no other nonprofit in the area that's doing what Chris is doing. And Christine is just done an amazing job with this. And because it's a brand new nonprofit that she started August was 1 year. So we are definitely looking for people to help volunteer and get in there with us, because the need is overwhelming in Brevard County. So that's something that we're just looking to look for volunteers and support and get the word out, because it is just something that is just really valued out there. We've just found that people really need this service, because there are a lot of there's a big need for it.
Yeah.
And this is just one half of her nonprofit. The other half, and I'm sure she's going to get into telling you about next, is the food pantries.
Yeah.
And but I mean, that I'll let her tell you more about that. But
well, that's excellent what you're saying. That's Gretchen Polny with Companion Animal Care of Brevard. And as we're having this conversation with Gretchen, but also Christine, who is the founder of this organization, nonprofit, 100% local to Brevard, just like helping seniors. One of the things that I want, you guys have I think a very effective website, and if you're hearing us talk about this and you want to start to get into a little bit more of the information that's out there about what you guys are building for our community, it's, help me get this right, is it Companion Animal Care of?
It's Companion Animal Care, BCFL, as in Brevard County, Florida.org.
Okay, so Companion Animal Care, BCFL.org.
Yes.
I think it's a great site. You also have a Facebook page. It's Companion.
We do.
And I encourage you, if you're hearing this and you have access to a smartphone or a computer, take a look in there, because you'll find out a lot about the work that you guys are doing with this. And, when you were talking about that, helping rehome animals, if somebody is in a situation where now the only safe option is, a permanent situation where they're not going to be able to have a pet, that's challenging, and you're reducing a lot of stress for them by helping them find a solution for how to work that. But also, if somebody passes away, then they're going to be concerned, like, what's going to happen to my dog? I don't want to just see it wind up at a shelter or something like that. And, it's interesting because we have a lot of excellent elder law attorneys who we work with. And I know, because we've gotten into this area before, that they will talk about seniors who will when they put trust together or things that they're trying to look for ways to do things effectively once they're no longer here, they will actually put in, there's pet trusts and things like that. And so I know how important animals are to the seniors, and so I guess that's part of what makes what you do so important. But as you said, you got to have some volunteers to help you get all of this done. What are the kind of things, well, maybe before we come back to that, let's go ahead into the second half of what you do, because I think this is fascinating too, about the food program.
I just wanted to make one comment, Kerry, about what you were saying about trusts and things of that nature. I was very honored that two people have told me that they have named us as the people to care for their pet should they pass. And that was very overwhelming for me, because that they would place their trust in us even beforehand. Yeah. And so that was very special to me. So, if people want to do that, that's, I think that would be wonderful, because, when you have family around, they have the opportunity to help with this kind of situation. Yeah. And I do get a lot of calls from families. We have allergies. We can't do this. Yeah. I'm a softie, and we'll take just about every call. But we really want to try and focus on helping everybody. Yeah. But it's just been great. But back to your, assessment about the wills and trusts, I think that's a wonderful plan to go with.
No, it's important because, like I said, when those pets are part of your family, that is a lot of stress on people's mind, and doing the right thing is a good way to do this. Well, I do want us to talk a little bit about the other part of what you do as well, which is this the program of that you're organizing for feeding, and this is This is pretty significant, I think. Talk about that.
Yes, this has become, we call it the Paw Pantry. And when we started companion animal care, we just had the primary mission of helping our seniors and their pets. And doing a little research, I found that there was a need for pet food to be delivered to the food pantries as well. As you, I'm sure, know, that food insecurity in Brevard County is big. And let's face it, if you have a pet and you're going to a food pantry to help support your family, you probably need the help to support your fur family.
Right.
And so we took this on, and it really is a very, very big project for us. We belong to an organization called the Pet Project, which is fabulous. We buy pallets of pet food at a discounted rate. It's all high quality food that's been donated from various organizations. The downside is the warehouse is down in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
So when we get a notification, usually very, very short notice, we have to find a truck to drive down, because none of us have a pickup truck. Of course, the cost of that, the traveling expenses, gas, and then paying for the pallets of food, it's a very large undertaking. What we do is then we bring the food back here. We found, at first, all the food was stored in my house, which I had the smell of dog and cat food throughout, but we have found a wonderful volunteer. Her name is Dee. She adopted one of our pets, and Callie, and she volunteered her garage. Our idea is, because of this expense, is to purchase more at a time, but finding a place to store it is another big issue for us. But what we do is we bring it back. Our volunteers then bag it into gallon bags, and then deliver it once a week to various food pantries in the area. So we have dog and cat food normally. We have wet and dry.
Wow.
I think so far this year, for the dog food, we have distributed over 5,700 pounds.
Wow.
Of just the dry dog food alone. We're looking at almost 6,000 canned dog food, wet dog food.
Wow.
Our cats have received over 2,600 pounds. So it's very, very high volume. But it's just like I said, that all comes out of donations.
Yeah.
Everything that we do, we operate off of donations.
We're going to get a little bit deeper into this in the second half of the Helping Seniors Radio Hour. We're talking with Christine Evans and Gretchen Polny with Companion Animal Care of Brevard. So stick around, because we're going to give you some insight on how to get more involved in this, and how maybe if you need some help, that it's available too. So stay tuned for the second half of Helping Seniors Radio.
It's 12:33 in the afternoon. You're listening to 90.3 FM, Helping Seniors of Brevard, the program for and about seniors and their families and loved ones associated with them. We're on the air every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 o'clock. I'm John Harper. Let's get back to more of the program, and our host and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Hey, thank you, John Harper. I was just thinking, here we are. We're not much more than a week or so away from Christmas, and it's the holiday time. And, by the way, I want to thank everyone who came out. We had, thanks to our friends at the residences at Zon Beachside. It's that beautiful assisted living location right there on South Patrick Drive, fairly close to the O'Galley Causeway. And, Zon Assisted Living and Memory Care Facility have been friends of the Helping Seniors organization literally, I think, from before they actually broke ground on the site. I remember Joe Steckler, our founder and now chairman emeritus. He would do TV shows and radio shows together with Greg Kennedy, who is kind of like the overseer of that whole project. And I remember them talking about trying to develop state-of-the-art senior living options there. I mean, they were using technology, all kinds of neat things to keep seniors safe and really, really kind of high touch and all that. But they've invited us every year to have our holiday festivities. And we had this beautiful drop-in last Thursday morning. Lots of folks came out from the community, both people that are partners with Helping Seniors and just people who are part of the Helping Seniors family made it out there. It was a great time. And Christine, you were there. We're talking
Yes,
about...
I was. It was lovely. It really was. The food was excellent. The room that you had was just... And your music. Oh, my heavens.
We were joking about we call him Uncle Nick, but his name is Nick Chirico, and he is a terrific entertainer, and he just loves putting the Santa cap on and doing all the all of that. But it was a fun time. So we're talking with our guest today, Christine Evans of Companion Animal Care of Brevard County, Florida. And we were having a really good discussion in the first half of the show, so I want to welcome you back. We gather lunchtime, 90.3 FM WEJF radio, and those listening online, thank you for listening. And one of the reasons we do a podcast with this is because sometimes people join a broadcast late, and so you can go back and catch the part of the conversation that you might have missed earlier in the show if you find us wherever you find good podcasts. We also put this on our Helping Seniors of Brevard.org website. We put it on our Facebook page, and we put it on our YouTube page, and I imagine, hopefully, you guys will end up putting it out on your Companion Animal Care.
Absolutely.
Companion Animal Care of Brevard
County.
Oh, the website is...
Companion Animal Care, BCFL.org.
Yes. So in the studio with us today is Christine Evans and also Gretchen Polny.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I was saying that right. Now, don't let the last names fool you. You guys both work in the organization, but you're sisters too, which I think that makes it an all-in-the-family organization. And we were talking in the first half of the show about some of the work that you guys do, which is, number one, that you set yourselves apart to try to help seniors navigate what can I do with my pet if I'm all alone, I don't have anybody else I can reach to. Maybe kids are not an option. We were talking during the break, sometimes there's allergies. Sometimes it's just not practical because where the kids live, maybe they can't have pets. There's all kinds of things that come up, or maybe the person, and this happens a lot. I don't know if you guys run into this, but a lot of times people are living a really long time and they may be outliving their family. We have seen that a lot of times. And so then literally their only living relative, if you'll excuse the expression, is the pet, that dog or that cat. And you were sharing just before we got into the break about the other half of what you guys do, which is that you're helping make sure that animal nutrition is available at some of the food banks through that whole program that you're doing. And you were sharing some statistics quite impressive about, as a small organization literally now moving into its second year of service, how much food impact you've been able to have. And think about the number of cats and dogs that are so important to seniors that are not going hungry because of the work you did. It was thousands of pounds of food.
Absolutely. Yes. And what we've found, we deliver just to a handful of pantries right now, probably about 10. And our goal, as I stated, was to really expand that. Yeah. And it really just comes down to the logistics, having space to house the food. Right now it's all bagged at my house. So again, that is quite needed, but the gratitude that we have received, not just from the food pantry people that work there, but, we come in contact all the time of the participants or the customers that go to the food pantries, and they are just so, so grateful, and they look for us. Do you have cat food this week? Do you have dog food? And we're just so grateful to be able to say, yes, we've got it this week, and we just distribute it as much as we can. We usually do about, weekly to some of the food pantries. But again, we just need to grow. We want to grow that because we're the only ones, again, in Brevard County that distribute to the food pantries specifically. So it's just something that has really meant a lot to the community.
And I love the fact that you guys are so focused on the seniors, which is, of course, our whole reason to be is helping seniors of Brevard. But I was thinking, I always use this expression when I talk about helping seniors because we're about ready to go into a year-end funding drive where what we're going to do within the next week, we're going to email out to, we have 5,000 or 6,000 people who have helped us along the way, and we're going to email. We want them to have a kind of like a little annual report of all the things we've done. Like we were talking about earlier, we've covered more than 4,000 calls again this year. So if you think about if you think about it, it's not just for this year, but now we're into our 14th year of service. So think about how many tens of thousands of calls and seniors and families we've helped along the way. Not only that, then we're into our education program, all the things we do, like the radio. We're always trying to let folks know of things that are available to them out there. We do the television. They broadcast 4 times a day on Space Coast Government TV, which is also out on YouTube. And we were looking at some stats of even how the YouTube channel had grown over the last year, and we're seeing like 30 and 40% increases in terms of the number of people who are accessing the stuff that we have, the resources we have online. And then, of course, we have the Senior Resource Center, which is our location that's donated to us in that beautiful Omni Healthcare building just a couple of blocks from the hospital there on the medical campus downtown. And we do a lot of programs there. We've done, we have our wellness series there. We have our Knowledge College series there. There's so many things that happen there on that location. And so but I always tell people, Christine, we can only go as far as people will financially help us. There's only things, as much as we want to help every senior that we possibly can, we still, even though Joe has always run an extremely frugal organization, you're still limited by how far you can go, by how much people will support the vision. And that's why, we're always coming up with these fun ideas, or we try to make them fun anyway, like the car raffle to raise money. That keeps our charity going. We've done the cruises. In fact, we're going out at the end of January. I think it's not too late to get into that if you want to give the Helping Seniors Travel Club a call. The best number, by the way, for all of this is 321-473-7770. I'm going to give you a second to grab a pencil, and I'll say that number again, because it's not only the Senior Information Helpline, but maybe if you wanted to get information about the cruise or maybe make a year-end donation, you could do that. You would call 321-473-7770. But here again, this show is not really about us. I really want to talk about you guys and companion animal care, because just like us, we can only go as far as people help us. I know it has to be the same for you. Talk about, you've been very effective to get some people in the community involved behind you. And I was thinking, even when you were sharing the need, like we need a warehouse space. I know there's going to be somebody who's listening who's going to go, you're always just one step away from that connection. But talk about who supports you now and what support would be helpful to you.
Okay, absolutely. And Kerry, you're absolutely right about, the funding. We, our organization is totally funded by the community. Mm-hmm. It needs the community support in order to keep going.
Yeah.
We've had some great community support. Some of the events, first of all, we try and attend every single event that is offered. There's a lot of other rescues out there that host big events. We're not at that level yet, but that's one of our goals. Mm-hmm. So we attend those. It's all about getting the word out. We've done, oh my heavens, just last week, Gators Dockside on Wickham hosted us for a spirit night, and those are a lot of fun. We had gone to Pizza Gallery. They did the same thing. Their pizza with a purpose.
Yeah.
And the response has been wonderful. Tractor Supply did a food drive for us.
Wow.
And it's so fun getting out there and for people to hear, what we're doing. And, oh my gosh, I couldn't even tell you how many bags of dog and cat food and carts were filled. Oh, wow. It was amazing. And, we're so grateful for that. We did have our first fundraiser last April, the end of April. The Pineda Inn hosted us for that. We partner with Joe Colludi and his entertainment organization. And we're partnering with him again. We're not definite on the location, but this year he's going to, he's already lined up several bands for singing entertainment. So we're hoping to do a whole day of it.
Good.
So we're excited about that. And part of what we do when we attend these events is I have a knack for making some pretty awesome caramel popcorn.
Oh yeah, let me testify to that.
Thank you. Yes, it's pretty amazing. We have a great following just with that as well. But we offer that for donations at each event. We have a wonderful group of women, and I think one gentleman called the Seaside Stitchers, and they a wonderful group of women who are making pet bandanas and pet blankets, lots of things for us to offer at our various events, and they big shout out to them because they've just been wonderful to us.
Now you are taking special orders on the caramel popcorn right now.
Yes, I am.
Makes a great Christmas gift,
It
right?
does. It comes beautifully wrapped. So that is available. You can contact me for anything like this or anything else about companion animal care at 321-750-2669. Or, of course, you can reach out on our website. So anyway, so we've just been getting out there and trying to promote our organization as much as possible. We're going to need sponsors coming up for our fundraiser the end of May, which is going to be Memorial Day weekend. That's Sunday. But donations along the way, people have told me you just have to ask. I'm not good asking for monetary donations, but I've also learned that even in-kind donations, like people allowing us to come to their business and providing, various materials, donating pet food, it all makes a difference. It really does. And, I love to say, and it's absolutely from my heart, we could absolutely not do this without the support from our community, our wonderful volunteers. They've been a godsend. My sister has pitched in, her and her husband pitch in, Blair, all the time. They're my go-to people. But it's just so rewarding in so many ways.
Gretchen, I'm smiling as Christine is talking about the work that you do, and I was asking you before the show. I said this is important to you because it's important to Christine. But as you two are working together to see this organization grow from what is a much needed concept into a really solid bedrock part of the community, what are the things that you see are important? How can people help?
There's just so much that every little bit helps. It really does. Every little bit helps. Just I think showing up helps, especially just showing up to events, to the bagging of the dog food, every little bit, donating a bag of dog food helps. Like Christine was saying earlier, almost 10% of Brevard County is food insecure.
Yeah.
And that goes to the mental health of your community.
Yes.
If you can't feed yourself, then you're giving to your dog so your dog doesn't go hungry.
Right.
I would feed my dog before I fed myself. So people are doing that, and people, you're like I said earlier, your legends, your seniors, they are food insecure because if they're living on Social Security, they're the ones that are going to the food banks.
Yeah.
So if we are supplying these food banks with dog food and cat food, they're the ones that are getting this. And so we are taking care of them. And that is so important. So the more we can get, the more food banks that we can supply.
Yeah.
So it's so important. So not only are we filling their stomachs of their pets, we are helping their mental health. So these are just feeding body and soul. It really is.
It's so important. Again, we talked about it's Companion Animal Care BCFL.org, or find it on the Facebook page. You guys have a great Facebook page, or if they wanted to call, because I'm telling you, don't miss the Christmas caramel corn. What's that number for information?
Thank you. Once again,
that?
It's 321-750-2669. It's definitely a labor of love. I have recruited a few of my volunteers to help me make this because it takes a long time, but it's worth it, and we've just had great success with it.
And get one for yourself too, because once you taste it, I'm telling you, I won't let her bring it to my house anymore because I can't
stop eating it. I know. No, I've got some.
Yes.
It's that good. So I wanted to really talk about as we kind of like try to put a bow around it, if you'll excuse the holiday analogy here. What you guys are doing is so important. Like I said, to me, it became really surprisingly front and center when we went through COVID and we saw how. Yeah, again, probably should have guessed all along how important those animals are to seniors because that is their companionship. It was funny when we hit COVID. I remember Joe Steckler, who at the time was our president. Now he's chairman emeritus, but he was the founder of this. He said, Kerry, I really want to see us do a program called Stay Connected. He said, because the problem with COVID was that isolation. You couldn't get around the people that you would normally, hey, are you okay? How's everything going? You wouldn't be able to have those conversations. He really wanted us as a charity to spend more time on that. And I was thinking but that's how a lot of times seniors interact with their dog or cat. That's their reason. They want to make sure the animal is okay, he's getting enough to eat. And like you said, as sacrificial as it may sound, they would say, well, I want my dog to eat before I eat. Absolutely. And that's why what you guys are talking about is such an important part of this whole fabric. We have often ascribed this saying that they say about kids. They say it takes a village to raise a kid, and there's probably a lot of truth in that. But on the other hand, I say that's really why we all have to come together and work out solutions for seniors, because it is too much for any one person to be able to do. But when we get a lot of hands involved, we can do some heavy lifting. And that's really what you're talking about, is getting more people, more finances, more assistance involved.
Yes.
So you can expand what's happening in the next year, because I know the need is that great.
Absolutely. And just as a side note, I hadn't mentioned this earlier, but since last October of 2023, which was when we had our first pet surrendered, and I actually kept that. Sherlock was an 18-pound cat that they put in my arms. His dad had to go into assisted living. His mother had passed, and it was love at first sight. So I have Sherlock, and he brings me more joy than I can tell you. But everyone that knows me has heard about Sherlock. But anyway, since that time, we're coming up on 30 pets.
Wow.
That we have either fostered or rehomed. We do a lot of rehoming, but we really, really need foster parents too. Because we get a ton of cats, and it's a little bit harder to find foster parents for cats until we can get them rehomed. Part of the problem too is people tell me that they will call other rescues, and everyone is filled, which is sad in and of itself that there's that many pets that need homes, but that's why they really come to us, because they've been turned away at so many other locations. So but we have helped a lot, and it's been wonderful so far.
Such an important work you guys are doing with companion animal care of Brevard. Christine Evans and Gretchen Polny, thank you guys for the work you're doing. I think we're going to do some great things together as we go down the road in 2025. I know when I talk about the role of helping seniors, we're in sort of that time of the year where you kind of, like we all do with everything, you kind of assess what you did well during the year, what you hope you can get better next year.
Yes.
We always start making those New Year's.
I have a long list.
We always make those New Year's resolutions. Hopefully we'll be able to follow through on this. But, I was doing, like I said, I mentioned earlier, because we're getting ready to put out an appeal and just say, if you want to help us, end of the year is a great time. It may have impact on what you're doing tax-wise. There's a lot of reasons people like to tidy things up and do their stuff at the end of the year. But also a lot of people like to get the new year off on the right foot and say, I'm going to do something that's going to make a difference in my community. And we talk so much about the importance of local. So like in our role, when we give out resources to people who are calling, we always want to direct them to a local resource for whatever that topic is, whether it's legal, whether it's somebody with a question about Medicare or Medicaid, or if it's a question about finding a place for mom or dad to live, or if it's a case for getting, help in the house. you know, you see all these TV ads, they all 1-800 something or other, and you're ending up calling a call center in Iowa, and they want to be helpful, but they don't know where we are on the Space Coast of Florida. They don't know the difference between Satellite Beach and, you know, Barefoot Bay. It all sounds the same if you're sitting in Ohio.
Sure.
You know?
Yep.
And yet those of us who live here and know the territory know you got to go local. And so we're always encouraging people to find those local resources that make a difference. And that's what's so important about what you're doing as a charity with Companion Animal Care of Brevard County. You, like us, you're laser focused. You know, it's almost that starfish on the beach thing that they like to quote a lot of times. You know, they saw the kids tossing there was hundreds of starfish that had landed up and beached, and the kid is throwing one back, and a man comes along. You're not going to be able to save all of them, but yeah, I just saved this one. I just saved this one. I just saved this one. And that's what it really comes down to. We're doing what we can with the resources given. So one more time, Christine, if somebody wants to maybe get some great Christmas caramel corn, which would be a great Christmas gift, supports the organization. Maybe they have a resource. Maybe they have access to a vehicle that could help us get food from South Florida up here, or maybe they have access to storage space. Maybe they just want to volunteer. Maybe they have want to just get involved. How do they do that again?
Well, on our website, we have a volunteer tab. And so probably the beginning part is just going there and completing that.
Yeah.
That comes right to me in the email.
Right.
And we evaluate that. We give you a call.
Good.
And we try and set something up.
Good.
And so that's one way. I can also be reached by email, and that is info@companionanimalcarebcfl.org. They can email me there, or you can also call me again at 321-750-2669, or shoot me a text.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm great with.
Well, thank you. So I want to, as we have just a minute or so to close up the show, thank you guys for joining us, both Christine and Gretchen. Thank you for the work you guys are doing for our community. A couple of real quick things, because I know we're about to get into holiday festivities, but the week between Christmas and New Year's is always like a blur, and all of a sudden we're there. But I do want to ask you to get on your calendar right now, the fourth Thursday of each month, actually, in really essentially all of 2025. That's when we do our Knowledge College for Aging, and we also do our Helping Seniors Wellness series. And those are two great free mornings out. In fact, I want to make sure I invite you guys to make sure that you're there with us so that you can have a table and have people learn more about the organization. And I'm sure you'll have some of that great, it won't be Christmas caramel corn, but it'll be New Year's caramel corn.
Would really enjoy that. We enjoy participating the first time. And anytime you want to have us back, you just let me know.
Now, that would be great, because we do that. It's free for everybody. It's right there at the Helping Seniors Joe's Senior Resource Center. And so you can always find out information about this and all the things we're up to on our Facebook page, Helping Seniors of Brevard, or at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org, which is our website. And so more or less, that's about the time we have for this edition of Helping Seniors Radio. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you back right here on next Wednesday. I think it's a very special Christmas edition of the Helping Seniors Radio Show, and I know Jim and John, and we just have like all kinds of little surprises set up for that for next week. So we'll see you then.